All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here. Mark P. Markets. Thanks for joining me. I don't have the camera on today. Let me know if you guys can hear me real quick. Can you guys hear me all right? I don't have the camera on today. I'll explain why in a moment. But yes, I am wearing clothes, just so you know. I'm wearing a shirt. You guys can hear me? I want to make sure I got sound coming through here before I start going on rants and stuff. You guys should be able to see my screen. Okay, cool. All right, good to see you guys. So, all right, Savi, good to see you. James, Stian, good to see you. Okay, oh, Stian is driving. Nice. Sean, all right, good to see you guys. All right, yeah, so I have relocated. So I am at a new location now, which is actually better for streaming and stuff like that. But I've run into a number of problems, and I haven't had internet for a few days. I got this thing up and running, but I still have a ton of problems here that I have to solve. That's why I couldn't even publish my article yesterday. So it wasn't like I was like lazy or I was like, oh, I don't want to say anything. You know, I'm short and I got whatever. No, I had no internet. I couldn't publish my article. Trust me, I was working all day yesterday trying to get my internet up and running. So it was just like numerous problems from like the physical wire there was something wrong with. My computer's got problems, all kinds of problems. So anyway, but I got this stream together so we can talk about a few things here. But I've been actually working at this all day to get this thing going. I almost had to cancel this stream, just so you guys know, okay? Because of the internet problems. Anyway, but anyway, thank you all for your patience and all that stuff. Next week, I should have the camera on, and you'll see a new room behind me. No blue screen. All right? So anyway, so if you're new to the stream, let's get this thing started, shall we? Okay, hold on. It's been quite an adjustment here, a lot of adjusting. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult the licensed investment advisor. How's my sound? My sound, like I don't hear much of an echo in here. I think the sound's pretty good, right? Anyway, so let me just explain a couple of things again. If you're new to the stream, I stream every Monday. And here's how it works. First, I go over the economic calendar. Then after that, I go over the chart situation, which is basically like the main part of the stream. And then we go over signals using the Trade Scanner Pro to see if we can find any signals intraday where I can demonstrate how the script works, okay? If you're interested in those things, there are links in the description. I'll explain some more of that as we go. But really quick, we have the 14-day free trial. That's the first link you'll see in the description. The second thing, we have a Discord community. You can check that out. It's for free. I am going to be more present there soon. I just had so much on my plate that, you know, that's why I've been sort of absent from there. But we have a couple of guys that have been keeping an eye on it. So if you have questions, there's plenty of stuff there. All right. So there's that. Also, if you'd like to sign up for the free version of the Trade Scanner bot, it sends out a trade every day, okay, by email. So you can get an idea of how that works. It's been putting out a lot of trades, okay? Again, it sends something out each day across multiple markets, so you can get a sense of how that works. We have a lot of improvements coming on the horizon, but it's going to take some time. So you can check that out there. That's free. Also, if you're interested in the TradingView or the premium version of it, there's a affiliate link in the description that belongs to Stian. You save some money and you help him out at the same time. You don't need the premium version of TradingView to use the Trade Scanner Pro, but it's helpful. Also, if you're interested in MEXC or Bybit as an exchange and you're a non-US resident, consider opening an account, putting money in it and placing trades, and Stian gets a small cut of that as well, okay? And if you're feeling generous and you want to make a donation, there are some wallet links in the description as well. Some wallet addresses, and those go to Stian also. Okay, he's done a lot of work, and he has a lot of work he's still doing, and you know, everything helps. Okay, anyway, so let's talk about the economic calendar very quickly. Sometimes, like I say, I like to just let you know what's going on there. Other times, I like to ask you guys to see if you're paying attention. So, anyone want to chime in on what we're looking at this week in terms of the economic calendar? Anyone want to share anything? Hey, Arm, good to see you. Okay, cool. Anyone want to volunteer any information about the economic calendar? Let's see if you guys have been Let's see if you guys can filter out pretty good. I'm going to make some improvements, by the way, to the stream where I'll show the economic calendar and all that stuff. But, one thing at a time. I got a lot of things I got to fix here. Yes, we got Powell. Sean, thank you. When is that? Is that usually that's like a Wednesday or a Thursday? When is the Powell speech? What about any other economic reports? So again, if you're new, we look at this because you want to be prepared for anything that can cause any kind of movements. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's usually when the guy speaks, and usually it's around 10 a.m. or sometimes it's at the market open when it begins. You got to check the timestamp. But so the week before we had the presidential election, right? Not looking at my calendar. Okay, no problem. Right. So just double check on that because he can cause a lot of action based on what he says, especially in light of all these changes that have taken place. Okay. Well, thanks for letting us know. Anything else? Any other reports anyone want to mention? Don't be shy. Put something that, maybe you're unsure of, right? This is why we talk about these things. The week before, there we go, CPI. Okay, which is on the 13th, which is what? Wednesday? Is that the CPI report? That's usually at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And usually the same week when you have CPI, usually it's followed by PPI. Will you guys agree? PPI and if CPI is on Wednesday, then PPI is usually like Thursday or Friday or something like that, right? You guys see the price producer index on there? And that usually also comes out at the same time, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So it's important to be aware of these because if there are any surprises, there can be a dramatic move, and you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that. Okay, so that's particularly important for day traders. No PPI. I don't see anything about the PPI. Usually it's on the calendar. You guys see it? So those are the main things, like any type of inflationary number, any Chairman Powell speech, anything like that, FOMC meeting, non-farm payrolls, all those kind of things. Those are big market movers. Also, company reports. We've had all the big ones report, like Amazon, Apple, Google. You know what I'm talking about, right? They were all like the week before and the week before that. But those can move markets as well. And they can move markets pre-market. They can move markets after the market. So you just want to be aware. Anyway, let's move along here. But while we're on the topic of news, we had the presidential election on Tuesday. And obviously we all know the outcome, which was historical. And ever since that, Bitcoin has been looking like this, right? Because obviously President Trump is a Bitcoin supporter now. Wasn't like that always, but he started, he changed his mind, and we have this. Okay. Now, doesn't matter what political side you're on. All that matters is how it affects your money, how it affects the markets. Because if you're ignorant to that, you're going to have problems. Okay. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, this and that. The market is what it is, and it prices in perceptions of the future. And I can tell you, just looking at certain things, and I've talked about this before, the market was pricing in a Trump win, right? The bond market, right? The yields, the DJT stock. There were a number of signs. Even the betting markets in Vegas, they talked about that numerous times. I've seen a number of things about that, right? They were pricing in the Trump win. And clearly, he dominated the whole night. It was pretty amazing. Anyway, so let's talk about what that means for Bitcoin right now. Because again, this situation is going to obviously get a lot of people excited, right? Let's just take a quick look at the weekly chart. Look at this. This is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. You see that? So I've been talking about for quite a long time that the general trend on Bitcoin was bullish, right? We knew that. There was nothing unusual there. I talked about this range that we're in, right? Since March. Well, we were in, not anymore, but we were in this range from basically 50K to the 73K high, right? And then this news event took place, which was the election, and this thing has broken out. Okay. Now, this is tricky. It looks great after the fact, but do not be fooled by this. You had a strong catalyst behind this. This situation, and people are going to look back, oh, how can I miss it? Oh, all this other stuff. And people are now calling, oh, it's going to go to 100K, blah, 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 blah. Don't get caught up in that. We have a breakout. There was a breakout with a serious catalyst behind it. If you took the chance, hey, it worked out. But understand something. It doesn't always work out like this. This is an unusual situation. It's called an outlier. This is an outlier because it was brought on by a very unusual catalyst, which was the election. And it was a very historical situation. So it all lined up and this thing went nuts, right? Now, here's the thing. Like I said, don't feel like you're missing out. If you're not in this, don't worry. Here's one of the main points I want to make about this before we talk about the levels. Is in a situation like this, right? We can go back to the daily chart now. In a situation like this, where this thing looks like it's vertical. I mean, it looks like it's going to go to 100K. I mean, it just keeps going and going. This thing's up like 6,600 points today. Understand that the higher it goes, the more risk you take. Now, I will always say that at highs. So I would have said that here on the breakout candle, right? When this was breaking out, I would have said it there. I would have said it here. I would have said it here. I will say it here. The higher it goes, the more risk you take. So it looks amazing. It looks like, oh, I can't miss out. I got to jump in because if I had just jumped in earlier, I'd be up a ton of money, right? That's what you may be thinking. But the thing is, the higher it goes, the more risk you take. This is an outlier situation. So if you bought and it worked out for you, great. Just realize that it doesn't always go like this. And just ask all the people that bought at the highs the numerous times, back here in the 70Ks and all the pain that they had to take. It's very possible that they may have banged it out, at the 50K bottom. Remember when we fooled around those 50K bottoms? Go back to my streams and you'll see what I was saying at those bottoms. Those were investment opportunities, right? I talked about it back then. That's when you want to do stuff like lay into something when things they don't look so good. Back then, all the frauds were saying Bitcoin was going to break and go to 40K and 30K and blah, 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 right? 50K held. And here we are pushing, what is this? 86,898. So we're basically, the high was 87.5, 87,494. I mean, pretty amazing, right? No. So again, I need to emphasize, don't get carried away. Don't feel like you're missing out. Can this thing go to 100K? Anything is possible. But the higher it goes, the lower chance that it's going to continue. Meaning there's a greater chance it's going to pull back. Okay? So the focus here is risk. You want to focus on the risk. How much risk are you willing to take? Well, in situations like this, since the probability of pulling back is pretty high, and if it pulls back, I mean, we can do some quick measurements here. I mean, just measuring this leg alone, right? Just this leg alone, right? A normal, healthy pullback, just standard pullback here, you're looking at 80K, right? That's a good 6,000 points, 7,000 points from where it is right now. This is your minimal risk right there. Minimal risk on this time frame. So if you're comfortable taking that kind of risk, then go ahead and buy. But if you're like, man, I don't want to risk 6,000 points, then this is not the right price to be buying. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about as a swing trader or as an investor, the larger time frame. This is a daily time frame here. So everything I'm talking about is a reference to this time frame. So the risk, the minimum risk, I would say, is this, right? And there's a level there at 80K. So that's a whole number. That's a great place to be looking for pullbacks on this time frame. If it pulls back to that and it stabilizes and we get like a buy signal there on this time frame, that would be a great spot. All right. What other spots can we talk about on this time frame, which is basically the whole point of this stream? Okay. Sure, Sean, I'll get to that. Good question, Sean. I'll get to that. So let me just finish this Bitcoin point, and then we'll take a look at the Russell. So the thing is, remember, old support becomes new resistance, and old resistance becomes new support. We have a number of old resistances here now, right? So for the longest time, we had this 69, 68 to 70K area, that area right there. That area is now support. But does that mean we're going to pull all the way back there? Not likely. Okay. Or I should say it's a low probability, because right now the structure that's in play here, let me point this out here. This is the structure. Okay. From basically this low to this high, that's the structure that's in play. Clearly bullish. So you don't want to you don't want to step in front of this thing. You don't want to short it. There's going to be a lot of people out there that say, oh, it's too high. Hey, I'm going to short it. It's a bad idea. That's highly risky as well. It's hard to understand, because you can say, well, if it's got such a high probability of pulling back, why not go short? We can talk about that on small time frames. Okay, no problem. 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, no problem. But this time frame, highly risky, because again, this thing can push into the 90s. Possible. Anything is possible. With this type of momentum, it can continue. Remember, this is an irrational market. So wild things can happen here, right? Don't step in front of something that is strong, not on this time frame. So again, back to the levels. Where are our levels on this time frame? Well, we're going to have the 73K high, right? This is the old all-time high. That's going to be a level. We're going to have like the 75, 76K area right around here. Okay, we have that 80K area, which is the whole number, right about there. Now, what do you do when you have no levels in front of you, right? Because those are support levels. We can agree that these are support levels that you want to be watching for on this time frame, right? So again, 73K, we got like the 76K, we got the 80K. Those are your supports. Where are our resistance levels, though? Hey, Alex, good to see you. All right. Yeah. Notice something. Hey, Giovanni, notice something. Before I talk about the resistances, notice something. If you look at some of these other markets, right? You look at some of these other things going on here. I'm not impressed with like Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum's doing okay, but like, look at Litecoin. Like, shouldn't Litecoin be at like 150 or something? So this is all Bitcoin. This rally is all Bitcoin and maybe some Ethereum. The alts, yeah, sure, the whole space is moving, but with a move like this on Bitcoin, money should be like just rolling in on these altcoins. And that's so maybe there's a delayed effect. We have to take a look at the interest rates and stuff. But I believe that a lot of this money is concentrated on Bitcoin because of all the hype that this administration is very Bitcoin friendly, plus whatever aligns with all that stuff. You know what I mean? So just something to keep in mind there, right? If this is not a broad rally, then you don't want to be in a hurry to buy the top of this thing. That's all I want to say right now. About the top, how do we figure out resistance levels? Because we have nothing in front of us. We have nothing historical in front of us. So there's two types of resistance levels that I like to consider. One, whole numbers, right? Those are typically sticky. So 90K, that's going to be a whole number area to watch for. So that's up here somewhere, right? 90K is right here. So that's going to be one just based on the whole number. That's a psychological thing. But what about beyond that? I mean, sure, we could say 100K, we could say 95K, but we can get more specific when we take a look at trend-based extensions. So when you're doing an extension, you're basically just measuring 3 points. Now, there's a number of extensions going on here because we have a number of 3-point structures that we can measure, right? We can go to the very bottom of the move, right? We can go all the way to the bottom here, and we can start from like this 50K bottom all the way on the bottom, right? We could do that. And we could measure to like this first pullback, right? And then we get some levels here. The levels you want to pay most attention to are like the 1618 and the 2618. Look at the numbers, right? We have 80K, which is the 1618, which has been blown right through. And then we have the 2618 at 94.5. Okay, 94.5. So basically 95. So that's one extension to keep an eye on. But again, you don't just go by one. We have a series of them. Look, we have this structure right here. What about this one? Do we have any overlap? I see, 82.5. Okay, then we have the 2618 at 92.8. So basically, 90, 93, 95. You can round these numbers. We also have this extension here. We can go from this low to this high and project it here. Okay, and what do we have here? We have the 2618 at 89, 156, right? 3618 at 97.5. So these are not precise by any means, but what you look for in those situations are overlap. And especially if it overlaps around a whole number. Now you could say, oh, it's coincidence. It could be. But the thing is, you can look at a couple of these extensions. You don't have to do, sure, we can come up with like 5 of them. We can go look at this one, look at this one, look at this one. You pick like the larger ones are usually the better ones to go by. And you just use those projections as a point of reference. That is it. That is all they are. And it's nice to see them around whole numbers. Sometimes you can even sort of develop like a range, you can do like a range, like between 93 and 95, for example, and you get yourself like a zone. And you just simply draw yourself a zone on the chart, right? 93 to 95. So somewhere up here, 93, 95, something like this. Okay. And then of course 100K is going to be a big number. That's a major whole number if it can get there. Now, is this a forecast saying that we're going to these numbers? No. Don't make that mistake. There's going to be a lot of talk out there going to 100K, going to 200K. You're going to see all the ridiculous YouTube titles, right? Don't get caught up in that. Again, these are potential resistances that if big if price makes it to one of them, then you want to see if you get the selling activity, right? You want to see if you get the confirmation. That's it. It may blow through. These are just lines. At this point, these are just random lines. The market has to confirm if the market's going to react. Now, why do those extensions have any relevance? Because there's some kind of psychological relevance to them, right? Because the whole world sees them and the whole world calculates them. It's like a self-fulfilling thing. So that's why it's worth just keeping an eye on. When you have nothing in front of you, that's how you come up with some potential levels. Because it's all proportional. Emotions express themselves in proportional ways when it comes to price action. That's why another reason why it carries any relevance at all. But a quant would probably say it's completely random, right? Because they don't calculate things like that. But there is some significance to it from my experience. So something to keep in mind. Again, the key though is the market needs to confirm. If the market doesn't confirm, then it's just a random line. So it's always up to the market to decide if there's any relevance there, right? So with that said, we have our reference points, right? So we have our recent support levels. We have some resistance levels we can go by. What is the point of having resistance levels right now if this thing is just going vertical? Well, they give you also reference points to, hey, Kai, thanks for sharing. Can you put levels for Dodgy? Oh, if I can get to that, Savi, I'll try. So what I want to say, though, here is these reference points give you a place to unload, take profit, right? You can use them as profit objectives because you're not going to just sit here. If you're long, when you're in a situation like this and these things, it just keeps going higher and higher, it's wise, from my experience, to take profits off the table. Take something. Now, don't be confused by what I say. I'm not saying you unload your whole position, but it's not a bad idea to take 10% off, 20% off, lock in something, especially if you're long from like 50K, right? Lock in something, take something off, because you're basically what you're doing is you unload your risk onto people that can't help themselves and have to buy the high. That is the professional mentality. That is what they do. They buy low when everyone's banging it out, and then they sell it to you higher when you can't help yourself and you're jumping in. They unload their risk onto you. So that is the mentality that you have to think. Now, if you're one of these people that, you sell 10 or 15%, let's say you sell 15% right here, and you say, okay, I locked in, I feel all good about myself, and then this thing just goes straight to 95K tomorrow. If you feel bad because you locked in a profit, that is going to bite you in the future. Okay, that level of greed, like, you can't feel that way. And I know it's natural to feel that way, where you're just like, oh, yeah, I can't believe I sold too early. If you're locking in a profit and it's a decent profit, you can't feel bad, because the thing is, that same mentality is going to cause you to lose a ton of money in the future, because you're going to say, the next time you're going to say, oh, I'm going to hold this thing. You're going to have an opportunity to get out. You're not going to get out, and you're going to give it all back plus more. You're going to buy more. It turns into a mess. So don't let greed control your thinking in that way. If it goes further after you've gotten out of some of it, who cares? You're still in, right? You should still be in. I'm not telling you to sell 100%, and you don't listen to me anyway. I'm just giving you suggestions to consider. You have to press the button, right, after everything is said and done. And you have to decide that. But what I'm saying is, don't let greed be a factor. Don't say, well, I don't know if I should get out. I mean, this thing is going vertical, and like, there's a couple of choices you have here. You could just get out because you're at an all-time high, right? You could just get out there, or you can wait for a signal to appear, some sort of sell confirmation, like a bearish candle, maybe a bearish pin bar or something. Maybe something like that appears over here, right? Maybe we get that in the next couple of days, right? Like some bearish pin bar there, something like that, or some kind of red candle at least. You can use all those as signs to make adjustments. Now, you're never going to get the absolute top in those situations, but whatever, right? It's about just taking something off the table. You could use a profit objective and put a limit order at a profit objective like 90K or something like that, and let some go, let some go there. Whatever. You have to figure that out. You have to decide what's right for you. But so what you have now here are some reference points for that, and that's where these resistance levels really, that's their greatest value that they offer. They're not for, whoa, I'm going to go short it up there. Not a good idea, because when you're in this type of momentum, you're asking for trouble, right? It may work, but you're asking for trouble. All right. So any questions about that? So again, though, that's the scenario. If you're long, you have some points to take some profit off the table and try to hold on to some, right? And if it pulls back, you'll have an opportunity to buy more. Markets don't move in straight lines. The conservative thing to do here, look for a pullback to one of these support levels. I know it's hard to believe. There's nothing there right now that says it wants to pull back, but all it takes, again, look at this situation here, right? Look beautiful, and then you get these red candles, and then it pulls back and blah, blah, blah. All it takes is some counter catalyst to come out, and you're pulling back. It can come out of nowhere, right? Markets are random. So you have your reference points. We know what to look for at these reference points. If you're not in, don't worry. Markets pull back, and there'll be opportunities. Now, that's all referencing this time frame. This is where, when there are moves like this and you don't know what to do and you're not in, this is where smaller time frames can be very, very helpful. This is where being a day trader is valuable. But of course, it's not easy. But in these situations, this is where it can look easy, right? Because, this thing is just going one way. So it's like you just go long, take some money off the table, go long again, take some money off the table. And it's like, wow, this is easy, right? When it's looking like this, when you have this type of momentum, it's obviously, we all know it's not that easy, but you take advantage of it while you can. This is why you want to develop your knowledge as a day trader for these situations, which are unusual. All right. So that's my Bitcoin analysis. And that's what I was going to write about. I'm still going to write my article, just so you guys know, because I don't like to mess up my routine. So I'm going to see if I could write my article tomorrow. We'll see where Bitcoin is, and I'll have something to say about it, whatever, and I'll look to publish it tomorrow. Hopefully, if I get this internet situation figured out, which again, I still have a lot of work to do here as far as ironing out my internet stuff. So hopefully I can get that together. Okay. Anyway, so Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I was saying before, Kai. Like this is just Bitcoin, right? Where's all the follow through in the other parts of the space? You know, maybe it's delayed. That's where I was going to say, let's take a look at the bond yields real quick. We can go to the US 10Y, which is the yield, right? Yields have been going higher, right? Let's go to the weekly real quick, right? I mean, look at this. Yields rising. That means anticipation of strong dollar, even though the Fed's been cutting. This is strange. Yields should be going lower, right? When we cut interest rates, yields should go lower, not higher. They usually go higher when you raise interest rates. So obviously they were pricing in a Trump win because Trump is going to do things to strengthen the dollar, and that's going to bring on higher yields. All right, that was my theory anyway. So this is not good for the altcoins or the speculative assets in general. Now, right now, that election situation is so strong that this is the market is blind to this right now. But if this breaks out, right, and you start pushing, the yields start pushing, that's going to come back and basically, you know, put a lid on things. So just keep that in mind. As money gets more expensive, that's good as far as putting, you know, taming inflation, but that also means money comes out of asset prices typically, right? You always get exceptions, but just keep that in mind, okay? That's not a forecast. It's just an observation. Now, all right, so I got a couple of questions here. Let me see if I can get to some of these questions real quick. So Dogecoin, there was a question before that. IWM from Sean, right? So speaking of Russell, let's take a look at IWM. That's the Russell 2000. That's the ETF. So let's take a look at the weekly chart real quick. I mean, look at this, right? So this is the small caps. Wow, it looks very similar to Bitcoin, right? That breakout. This is a small caps, but here's the thing. They may be just getting excited because business friendly tax cuts, blah, 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 right? But usually these get excited when money gets cheaper because they borrow a lot of money. So I don't know. The cheapening money situation doesn't look that favorable right now, at least not in terms of the fixed income. There could be other perceptions here that maybe I'm just not calculating. You know, like, I mean, the whole good for business thing and tax cuts, maybe they're pricing that in. But here's the thing. I mean, let's take a look at a monthly, right? A monthly. This situation, well, this is all bullish and everything, but this is fake out. This is a fake out area. So be careful here as far as, yeah. So right now it looks like the breakout attempt is good. It looks like we have a lot of momentum behind this. You have to see how the next month plays out on something like that, right? Go back to our 1 week. If we get any red candles in this situation, it's very likely to fake out. So again, that's just from a technical perspective. When you combine that with what's going on fundamentally right now, or what's driving this right now, you know, who knows? So all I can say is the risk is high, right? In this area, it's a high risk area to be being aggressive, you know, investing in small caps right now. When you want to invest in these things, you know, you want to find these areas, right? These lows or something like that, some kind of pullback, something like that. Of course, we see that after the fact. But in this case, you know, a pullback to like this area might be attractive, more attractive than where we are right now. So when it comes to longer term and investing and stuff, you do have to keep an eye on certain economic factors and catalysts and things that can keep this market going or not. I mean, right now, look, this is the daily, and we're starting to get that pin bar situation developing, right? So just keep an eye on that. The location is less than ideal for investing. That's the way I'm going to leave it with that. All right. So that's the IWM. I hope that helps. Now, Dogecoin. You want to project some levels on Dogecoin? Thoughts on broader economy, a possible double. Right. So I think, Sean, I answered your question there. So we have to see how that goes, because again, watch those interest rates, right? A lot of these new highs and stuff can just be the reaction to the election, and they can be very irrational and ignore some other important signs. Because I mean, again, if yields are rising, money's getting more expensive. So, and the other thing this administration mentioned that they're going to do is they're going to cut all the fiscal policy stuff. They're going to cut a lot of that. That fiscal policy that we've seen for the previous 4 years, a lot of that nonsense has driven stock prices, or at least a small group of stocks, because that's what inflation does, right? So if we don't have the fiscal thing going on anymore and rates are rising, I don't know, right? That's not typically positive for the future, right? I could be wrong, but I would just be very cautious with that stuff. And I don't invest at highs anyway. This is not like a golden investment opportunity. Not at all, in my opinion. I like to see lows of some kind, right? Not highs. So anyway, just wanted to mention that as far as investing. Investing meaning, 1 year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, that sort of thing. All right, let's take a look at Dogecoin real quick for Savi over here. Savi from Brooklyn. All right, let's take a look. So what's oh my God. All right. So let's go back here a bit. Let's go to the weekly. Are these all-time high? No, they're not. Now let's see. This is again. Why isn't Litecoin doing this? Right? Why aren't some of the more popular altcoins? Shouldn't they all be doing this? They're not. Why is this one? Because why? You know why. You know what this is about, right? This is about Musk. And he's a big fan of this coin, and now he's going to be a big part of whatever. So this is a bet on him, in my opinion. And this is going to benefit, I guess. There must be pricing something in. Look where we are. So, Savi, in this situation, you do have some history here. We have some levels. Look, resistance right there, resistance over here. This is a weekly chart. And of course, resistance way up, we have something here and we have something here. Those are your levels going forward as far as resistance goes. Okay. As far as support, you have the previous recent high over here. That's it. Those are your levels for this thing. So either we're pulling back. Let's see. What do we have? Some action in here. What do we have in here? There's some price action in here. So you can argue that there's something there as well. You can also take the retracement tool and just measure this low. Look at what a beautiful low. If you bought into those lows, wow, right? And you could see, so you could use some retracements as a reference point as well. Particularly, the 618 happens to line up in this area here. So those would be good reference points. Now, those who buy into this now because they say, oh, now is the time, you're taking a lot of risk, just like with Bitcoin. It's a foolish place to buy, in my opinion. When things look beautiful, it's usually the worst time to buy. When things look bad, like this, not looking so good in these lows, that's the time to buy. When things look bad, right? Look back over here. Things were beautiful, and if you bought at those highs, you had to sit through all of this pullback for what, a year? What is that? Like a year, an entire year of pulling back and just not making new highs and watching it go lower and lower and lower. And then it spent another, what year was that? 22, right? From 21 to 20 to 24, like 3 years, basically, this thing was just in the garbage zone. Okay. For 3 years, if you bought at those highs, you had to stick that out. And then even after that, it looked horrible here more recently. Okay. And now we got this again. Don't be fooled by this stuff. It's a powerful catalyst. It's an unusual situation. So the best we can do here, don't buy here. If you have some great opportunity to take some money off the table, hand it over to all those people who can't get over themselves and can't wait for better prices. This is your chance to unload that risk. And if you want to get involved, wait for a pullback. Okay? Wait for a pullback. That's the more conservative thing to do. And you put probabilities more in your favor when you do that. Because here, probability is not in your favor if you're buying it up here. How many remember when we were like in altcoin season like 2 years ago, And every single altcoin was making new high after new high after new high after new high. How many remember that? Remember they're just going vertical? They were all going vertical. And like Cardano was going to go to like $10 and all this other nonsense. Remember what happened after that? So this is sort of like that. When I see vertical charts like that, that's what you're facing. So if you must get involved, at least get involved small if you're going to try to hold from these levels, because all you're doing is making the people rich who bought at the low prices. That's all you're doing. Okay? All right. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. I'm just trying to give you a realistic perspective in terms of the risk. That's all. I know it's not sexy. I know no one wants to hear it. I'm not going to gain any followers, when I say this stuff, because, I'm not telling people, oh, it's going to go to Dogecoin's going to go to $1, right? If I was saying that, I'd have 10,000 people following me, like in one day. All right, Kai. Kai is saying here, what? Interesting to see. Okay, hold on. I'm just catching up on the. Okay, yeah, Sean, yeah, okay. If yields break out, the bond market says either return of inflation or runaway. Right. Well, if the yields break out, I mean, I don't overcomplicate it. If yields are higher, money becomes more expensive, and that means less money to flow into these things. I try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's nice. Definitely, Kai. It's nice to see. Don't make a mistake, guys. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, and I'm not trying to like pop people's, good feelings here. Look, I'm happy. I'm happy about this situation. I'm happy that we're going to have a change in administration, and we're going to see a lot of nonsense removed. Okay, and it's going to be good for markets in general. Like, there's a lot of optimistic stuff to say. I'm just talking about the risk here, right? And I want you to be prepared for the risk. And these moves are certainly welcome, because it means that a lot of these things are going to be in play again, at least. Okay, and that's a good thing. So even in the first pullback, right? These pullback opportunities, there's going to be stuff to do, especially on smaller time frames. So it's a great thing for this type of environment. Is great for day traders, because it brings back, in fact, like the day after the election or whatever, like when I was going on YouTube and stuff, what do you think I see? Broker commercials all over the place. Like they want that retail trader to open an account now. It's money time, right? Brokerage commercials all over the place. Okay, so gold. Okay, so I'm not going to go over. I have to go over the Trade Scanner Pro. So I follow gold pretty closely. Gold got hammered. I'm not going to spend much time. We could take a look at gold real quick, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. All right. I follow gold. Gold got hammered, as you can see, because again, strong dollar means weak gold. So very simple. Gold, the trend in gold hasn't changed yet, but now it's attempting to test supports, right? So if you have bearish momentum in play right now on gold, and that's, again, as a result of everything that we've seen here. You're at supports. I would anticipate at least some bounce attempt, but I would not be looking for a new high in gold. Okay, so, I mean, anything is possible. This trend is likely to break, but it has to break. It has to prove itself. So we're at support levels. Trend is bullish. I would look for the reversal for longs, but I wouldn't have high expectations, right? Maybe we get a bounce back up into this midpoint area, which is what is that? Basically 26.96 or 27. That's a reasonable bounce point, profit objective. I would not be sitting here saying, oh, gold, it's going to go all the way up here, because that's, that was before the, election situation. So gold may be broken for a while here, right? But it doesn't mean that there won't be any attempts. You have to figure out how you want to play gold. But I would not be buying for the long term right now. All right. Yeah, definitely not. Just if you're going to do gold, it's a short term, like a swing trade. Gold would be ideal for swing trades, okay, on the long side, at least from this level. It's a support. All right, let's move along here because I talk for too long and I don't get to cover all the things I want to cover. But I hope you got awesome value out of this. If you have, please press the like button, please subscribe, and it helps out. Okay, I have a lot of plans and a lot of things that I'm going to be bringing out soon. It's just I've had so much on my plate. It's just been very hard. On top of that, I trade, by the way. I trade. So that also consumes a considerable amount of my time. I'm not like one of these frauds who don't trade at all and they're just like, on charts all day. Anyway, all right, let's go back to let's segue here for a moment. If I don't have any other questions, and if I missed your question, I apologize. Please come back next week and ask me again. All right, but I at least I got to a few questions here. I want to segue to the Trade Scanner Pro now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to first I'm going to change this chart to the Bitcoin perp chart. Hold on a second. So Bitcoin perp. All right. And let me see, MEXC. So I'm changing this to the Bitcoin perp chart. And I'm going to also change this to the hourly. All right. And I'll explain. Those of you who follow me regularly, you know what I'm doing here. But I'm going to change that. I'm going to then split this chart over here. Okay. I'm going to refresh this one. And what we're looking at here is I'm going to switch this to a 1 minute. This is the 1 minute chart now here, the second chart that I'm moving around. That's a 1 minute. And over here on the left-hand side, I have the 1 hour chart. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to explain to you how the Trade Scanner Pro works. Okay. The Trade Scanner Pro, by the way, is the Trade Scanner concept, or the same concept as a Trade Scanner bot, except it was put into a script form. So the Trade Scanner concept is basically what it is it's a trend following momentum reversal system. And it's based on criteria that I used for certain day trade strategies that I employ. And we just basically made it into a script that we could put onto TradingView, thanks to Stian. And so we have a bot version, which basically just follows the trend on the larger time frame. And then we have the script version, which gives you a lot more flexibility. The bot is basically for people who don't have the time to get involved with the script. They're usually more beginner, or they want to do more larger time frame stuff, and they'd rather just get all the information by email. That's the bot. Okay. And we're going to be making some dramatic changes to that thing soon. The script is for people that are more active. They're hands-on. They're more of the active trader. Okay, more of like the day trader, swing trader. They like to trade more. They like to get their hands dirty with the charts. Okay, that's where the script is for. Now, let me show you really quickly what the Trade Scanner Pro does exactly. So, like I said, it's a trend following momentum reversal system. So first, it determines a trend. It detects a trend. And it tells you that with this little box up here. It says trend is bullish or trend is bearish, right? Once it identifies a trend, it then looks for a pullback in the trend, which looks like something like this, right? Bullish trend, it pulls back. Once it sees the pullback, it then measures the momentum right here for a reversal, right? That's the momentum reversal part. And once it reverses and it confirms that reversal, it then will give you a signal in the form of trade suggestions, order suggestions, which looks something like this. It gives you a stop loss, right? It gives you an entry price that looks like this, and it gives you a profit objective, which is typically 1.5 times what your stop amount is, right? So if your stop amount is 100 points, well, then your profit objective is going to be 150 points. You can change that number, actually. If you look over here, it says 1.5. See, it says Trade Scanner Pro 1.5 up there. I'm going to turn it on. That 1.5 is the 1.5 to 1 reward risk. You can change that in the settings. All right, so that's basically how it works. Now, that's the concept. The script, though, takes it a step further. And there's a mode called counter trend mode. Counter trend mode will look for this signal right here. It looks for just a momentum change no matter what the trend is. So you say, well, when is that useful? Why would I do that? There are certain situations where counter trend mode offers you a better probability. And those situations are typically around support and resistance levels. I'll explain that more as we go along here. So if you have any questions, let me know. Now, that's how it works, right? So here's the thing. The Trade Scanner Pro is not a forecasting tool. Please listen carefully to what I'm about to say. It's not a forecasting tool. The Trade Scanner Pro is a management tool, and it's a confirmation tool. It's very important to understand that. It's a management tool and a confirmation tool. It does not forecast trades for you, which means you have to come to the table with a trade idea. The good news is that's not that hard to do. I'm going to show you how I do it here. It's actually very simple. The hard part is the confirmation and the trade management. So the goal, the whole purpose of the Trade Scanner Pro is to simplify your decision-making process and take a lot of the guesswork out of where to get out. But you have to have an idea of what you're looking for to begin with. Okay, so is that clear? I get a lot of people who sign up and then they cancel it right away because they're thinking that they're getting the magic button, the magic tool that's going to, oh, I'm just going to buy this thing, because this thing will give you signals all over the place. And if you don't know what you're looking for, they're very likely to be random signals. Markets are random, just like if you're using candlesticks. Candlestick patterns appear randomly. It's the location that makes the candlestick that gives the pattern any value or not, okay? Any forecasting value. So the Trade Scanner Pro is very similar in that sense. So you have to come to the table with an idea. Let me show you how I do that. Now, before you even get to charts, the first thing you have to decide for yourself, again, before you get to the chart, is, am I looking for day trades, or am I looking for swing trades, or am I looking for an investment? You must know this first. What type of trader you're looking to be. For today's demonstration, I'm going to show you a day trade example. So I know automatically I'm looking for a day trade. But you may be looking for swing trades. You may be looking for something else. You must know this in advance because it's going to determine what time frames I'm going to use to surface my idea. Understand? So first you pick your time frame and everything else is going to follow from there. So I said my time frame is going to be day trader time frame, which means I'm looking at 2 time frames here. By the way, we're looking to simplify this further so that you don't have to look at 2 time frames, but we're not there yet. I just want you to know that. We have our actionable time frame, which is this one, the smaller time frame. That's where we're going to take the trade. That's where our risk is going to be defined. That's where we're going to look for the signal, right? The smaller time frame. It could be a 1 minute, it could be a 5 minute, it could be a 15 minute. I suggest for beginners to use a 15 minute. But my larger time frame, which is the 1 hour in this case, is where my idea is going to come from. Does that make sense? So you start with the larger time frame to come up with an idea. And the idea is, well, should I go long or should I go short, right? What should I do? We have to come up with that idea. So since I'm going to be using a 1 minute chart as my action chart, I need to use a larger time frame for my idea. In this case, the 1 hour. Can I use a 30 minute? I can. Can I use, a 4 hour? I can. But 1 hour works fine when I'm trying to get context for my 1 minute chart. Are you following me so far? Let me know if you have any questions. This can be confusing for beginners. By the way, I am going to be making training material like you see here, but much better quality. I'm going to be making training material so that when people sign up for it, they'll have a bunch of reference videos to go by. Although, there's plenty of them on my YouTube channel of these demonstrations, but I realize people aren't going to go back and watch these demonstrations. I have to make the nice package and make it nice and convenient. That's on me. I understand. So anyway, but while I have your attention now, so we're going to start with the 1 hour because I'm trying to find context. I need to figure out 2 things. Anyone want to guess what those 2 things are? When it comes to context, I only need 2 things, 2 components. I don't need RSI. I don't need moving averages. I don't need this nonsense. And I don't need news. If you're one of those people, you're not going to get any value out of this. I only need 2 things. Less is more. What are the 2 things? Trend and levels, Sean said. Good answer, Sean. Yep. Hey, Monica, how are you? So the only two components I need, and this applies to like everything that I do, trend, support and resistance levels. That is it. That is all you need to make adequate decisions and measure risk effectively. You don't need anything else. Less is more, because 99% of the information we consume is garbage anyway, and it does not give you any value. But trend and levels can, right? So let's talk about that. So trend on my hourly, no question, bullish, right? The Trade Scanner Pro also agrees with that, but no question, right? Bullish. So I should be looking for longs, right? I should be thinking, okay, if I'm going to do anything here, I should probably be working on the long side, and plenty of reasons why. We don't even have to talk about fundamentals, right? If you're a fundamental guy, well, you kind of want to know why. All right. Well, we know why. Vertical, long, no problem. Now, the second thing is levels. Now, this is tricky because I don't have much history on this hourly chart. These are all new. These are all time highs, right? So going back a bit, I mean, I can pick some old resistances here that got blown through, right? But the problem with those is they're not in play. We're nowhere near those prices. Those would be great prices for longs on my, as a day trade, but we're nowhere near them. Okay. That's a 81K, 81.8. Right now we're at 86.9 and a half. So what do? Well, I can zoom in a bit and try to find some structure on a smaller time frame. So we can switch maybe up to like go to a 15-minute. Any structure there? Well, we got something over here. Right, we're looking for structure. We're looking for resistances that broke. Okay, so we're a little closer there. 84. Okay, we got something there, but not much else. There's really not much structure here, right? So what do? I can use my retracement tool. Okay, and I can look for something on there. Now, typically, we want to find like a 382 area or something. We have that lines up actually with this over here. Okay, but we don't have much. I mean, I to get something, I have to measure this little structure right here, and I got like this, something like there. So I can use that as my reference point. That's it. That's my support levels. Okay. And as we know, we don't have much resistance nearby, and we know that this thing is super strong. So resistance levels, I mean, there's nothing. I can project like we talked about earlier, but I'm not going to go through all that here. I'm just going to go with my 1 minute, right? Because that's my resistance right now. That's my resistance. So what this means is when you have your trend defined, that means that your support and resistance expectations are going to be shaped. Trend is bullish. That means supports are likely to hold. Resistances are likely to break. Right off the bat, that kind of gives me a sense of probability. If I get a pullback to some kind of support, chances are a reversal will appear and it will follow through, right? Chances are that support will hold. While if we're at a resistance, chances are that resistance will break. So I should be interested in longs at supports, and I should not really be too excited about shorting resistance. I can, right? I'd be kind of aggressive doing that. But if I'm going to do it, right, I really need to, like, we really need to be like, I want to see like the fake out zone. There's usually a zone. I'm not going to get into the details of that right now, but usually there's something like this. And if I'm going to short something that's strong, I prefer to see the signal inside of this zone somewhere if I'm going to do that, okay? But again, that's being aggressive, and I'm not really interested in doing that right now. I want to work on the side of the trend, okay? So we've determined the trend. We've determined the levels. Now, that brings me to my 1 minute chart, because this is where the action is, right? This is where I'm going to take the trade. I can refine my levels a bit. I mean, clearly there's something going on here. At this price, what is that? 86,562. And we have this little range developing here. Okay, cool. So let me go to my Trade Scanner Pro here for a moment, because I never went over the panel here. See this? This is the settings panel. You want to make sure the trailing stop is on, show previous trade, and heads up. Now, do I want to go into counter trend mode here? No. Trend is bullish here. Counter trend mode is for specific situations where, like, for example, let's say Bitcoin on the 1 minute pulled back to this support right here. See this level here? Let's say it pulled back there, and my trend on my 1 minute turns bearish. That's not going to change the trend on the 1 hour. That's where I want to be in counter trend mode. I don't want to confuse people, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I've done videos on that and stuff, and there'll be more information on it. But in this situation, there's no need to be in counter trend mode. Okay? Because we're not pushing a support where this trend is bearish. The idea of counter trend is to align with the larger time frame trend. Right? If the larger time frame trend is bullish, but my 1 minute is bearish, I want to align with the bullish trend. So that's where counter trend can help me. But right now, these trends are aligned. You know, the 1 minute trend changes a lot because it's a 1 minute chart. It's going to be very noisy. Things change a lot. But right now, the 1 hour and the 1 minute are aligned. Okay, cool. So I need to find a signal to go long. Look, when you turn on show previous trades, look at these previous trades. It tells you like the profit or loss. In this case, this was a profit of 473 points. In this case, another 439. I mean, this is beautiful. Usually it's not that nice. You'll notice this green column, right? That's the heads up column. When you turn on your heads up feature, because it's pointing out this orange candle. The heads up candle, which is the orange candle, tells you that a signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles. So if you notice, right, orange candle in the next 3 to 5 candles, basically you got a signal, right? Orange candle, the next candle, you got the signal. You could set that your notifications, by the way. If you go to your notifications here on TradingView and you put the Trade Scanner Pro, right? You change this to Trade Scanner Pro. It will tell you. You tell it where to tell you, like it'll send you an email, it'll give you a notification on the app, whatever. It'll tell you when you get a heads up. It'll tell you when a profit objective is reached. It'll tell you when a stop loss is reached. Now, like I said before, you could use this on the free version of TradingView, but you can only set one notification at a time. Whereas in the premium version of TradingView, you can set many notifications. So that's helpful if you're watching other markets and all that kind of stuff. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, now, all right, so now I explained pretty quickly how the control panel worked. I'm going to make videos on that stuff, so I appreciate everyone's patience, but I'll have more reference material so that you guys can go over that. I just don't have that right now. All right, so the point is, though, I'm looking for longs. I want to go long, but at this moment, I don't have a heads up, right? I don't have a signal. I have nothing. So I do nothing. Now, this is a 1 minute chart, right? I suggest for beginners a 15-minute chart, which means you may have to wait long periods of time for a signal. I mean, look, I'll pull up the 15-minute chart here, right? I mean, look, here's the 15-minute chart. There hasn't been a signal on the 15-minute chart for quite some time, okay? I mean, look, those are heads up. Those are heads up. There's a signal. We haven't had a signal since then on the 15-minute. That's why setting notifications, damn, look at this. That's why setting notifications is so helpful. You'll say, "Well, man, this thing sucks." Well, no, what you do is when you're not getting a signal for quite some time, you switch to like a 5-minute chart. When you have a moving market like this, you have to switch usually to smaller time frames, which brings me to my next point, right? It takes a little experience. This tool is not really for the beginner. Like if you're brand new at this, you're going to have a hard time with this tool. This is for someone who has a little experience, someone who understands time frames a bit, right? If there's nothing happening on your larger time frame, you switch to a smaller time frame. Now, my 1 minute, I haven't had a signal since let's see, 41 minutes, right? So what do I do? Who can tell me? What do I do on a 1 minute chart? Now, again, if you're a beginner, I do not recommend 1 minute charts. They're very noisy. They can be a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing, right? I'm just showing you for this for demonstration purposes, or if you have experience, great. But work, if you're a beginner, work with a 5-minute, work with a 15-minute, not a 1 minute. But who can tell me what do I do when my 1 minute is not showing me anything, but I'm looking for a signal? I mean, I can wait. I can sit here and wait another 41 minutes or whatever for a signal. Remember, the market needs to pull back for a signal. Because again, this thing is measuring the pullback, right? This was a pullback over here. This isn't pulling back, is it? So no signal there. Switch to 15 seconds, Savi says. Samuel, hey, Samuel, how are you? Secretary, Booty Cheeks, how are you? You guys, yes, smaller time frame. 5 second, that's a little wild. I've done it. You can do it, but 15 second would be, in this case, 15 second. So good answer, you guys. Samuel, you can change the reward risk to 1.5. Like the reward risk situation is up here, right? You could change it. It says right here, reward ratio, it says 1.5. You could change that to 2. You could change that to 3. And that's going to spread your order, your profit objective further out. It's going to basically take whatever you're risking. And so like if you're risking 100 points, for example, and you're at 3-1, it's going to put your profit objective 300 points higher. That's all it's doing. Now, but you guys said go to the smaller time frame. Let's go to a 15 second. By the way, to get a 15 second, look at this. There was a signal here. I was too busy talking and I missed it. Okay, what was that signal worth? 173 point profit. All right. In a market like this where it's just vertical, small time frames are going to be decent usually, right? So we can wait. Well, let's see if we can get another signal here. Now, I do not recommend these time frames. I was just going to say you have to have the most expensive version of TradingView to get sub 1 minute time frames to begin with. But I do not recommend this for beginners, especially sub 1 minute, because they're extremely noisy. It looks good right now. How about this one? Was this a losing trade? Let's see. This one may be a losing trade. Yeah. Okay. Minus 128 points. This one tried and it failed. Eventually it went. That happens, right? Now keep in mind, time of day. Look at this one. Another 15 second. This one was a winner, 174 points. Wow, nice trades. Time of day is very important, right? The stock market's closed. So this is probably going to be very noisy at this time. Not the best time to be taking trades on a 15-second chart. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to take the trade on paper, okay? So I'm doing this for demonstration purposes so that you can see how the Trade Scanner Pro works in real time, right? I'm not like one of these frauds who cherry pick a trade and show you after the fact. Oh, look at this trade over here. It made so much money, right? Yesterday. Great. It doesn't do you any good, right? I show you in real time the trades, how they develop. So you could see, like, I can't make this up. Now, right here, look, I got nothing here. This is the 15 second. I'm just curious. Let's just take a look at a 5 second. Was there anything there? The 5 second. The 5 second gave me a signal. 5 second is nuts, though. Look at this. I mean, this was the signal candle. It's around the entry. All right, I'll take one on the 5 second. This is nuts on the 5 second chart. This can change so fast, okay? And also, I got it at a bad price, too. All right, I bought this thing at 87,341. So that's not exactly here. The actual price was 87. Oh my God. Wow. Vertical. Look, now, all right, now notice this. Okay, this is a nice example. This is like this is clown world over here. This never happens. Okay, so let me point something out. Notice this trailing stop is going nuts right here, right? So I took this trade and it blew through the profit objective. Look at my trailing stop. Now, this is the key thing to this. My trailing stop, if this trade continues to be stupid like this, my trailing stop will keep me in, right? And that's how this goes beyond the profit objective. So while we're watching this, I'm just going to watch this trade develop. Okay, again, you don't see this very often, but again, we're in magic. This is magic mode here, thanks to the election. So let me point a few things out while this thing goes nuts. So we had our original risk, which is 62 points. Okay, that was our original risk. This trade, by the way, is a risk-free trade. The profit objective was 91 points. Okay. But we're way beyond that, aren't we? So right now, if I exit at the trailing stop, I'm up 314 points. That's ridiculous. And it's still running. So this is the magic. Okay. This is what the Trade Scanner Pro does for you when you're in these situations. Because when the market's moving like this can be very confusing. You're like, what do I do? Where do I get out? Do I let it keep running? How do I trail it? This answers all of those questions, right? So I went from a risk of 60 points and I'm up, 5 to 1 reward risk? And that's assuming I get out at the trailing stop, right? I can get out right now, or this thing may just continue to trail higher. Keep something in mind with the trailing stop. It's never going to get you out at the top, right? It's going to have to pull back to touch the trailing stop. The whole point of the trailing stop is if you get a wild run like this and it just wants to be stupid, the trailing stop keeps you in. It gives you a point of reference, right, as it's doing right here. So I'm going to wait for the trailing stop. Let's see where this thing gets me out. Because if I'm reacting to the candles, especially on a 5-second chart, if I'm reacting to the candles, I can be misled very easily, right? Like you may have said, oh, you better get out over here. This thing's going back to zero right now, right? And a candle like that, you may react like that to something like this. But meanwhile, the trailing stop says, no need to get out. Wait until the price gets over here, right? And I'll give back. Yeah, I'll be giving back something, but who cares, man? I mean, I'm up like at this point, I'm up like 6 to 1, 5 to 1, or whatever, and it's continuing higher. Beautiful, right? Now, again, let's go back a bit. See, how much am I up? Wow, $450. Nice for risking $60 or whatever. All right, I may have to blow this out now. I'm getting another warning for a long. See that? Look at that. I'm getting another trade can develop over here. See the warning? Again, this is a 5-second chart. It usually doesn't, this is a very wild chart. You just happen to see a great example. It usually doesn't go like this. 5 seconds are very noisy. But when you have a very fast market and a very wild market like this, you can find an opportunity here. So please keep in mind the trade idea. We arrived at an idea. I knew I was looking for longs. Okay. And I knew I was in an area where I was looking for longs, and the signal appeared and I took it. Okay. Now, so I came with the right idea, right? I shouldn't be going short, and all those things. So my point is, I came to the market with an idea, and I was waiting for the long signal, and I happened to we were checking smaller time frames because the 1 minute was taking too long, right? Let's take a look at the 1 minute real quick. Is there a signal? Still no signal on the 1 minute, right? How about the 15-second? No signal on the 15-second, okay? But the 5-second gave me a signal. So now, are you going to know to be checking all those time frames? It's going to be hard for the beginner, okay? You're better off just being patient in the beginning and just waiting for the signals. But when you get a little more experience, yeah, you could jump around and look for the signal. I mean, look at this. So another solution that Stian is actually working on is we're going to have a table, right, on the that's going to appear on the chart. That's going to be on the overlay that he's working on some overlays. An overlay is basically a script that goes on top of the script, and the table will allow you to input a number of symbols. You can put like 10 symbols and time frames. So you can have 10 symbols and multiple time frames. So you could be watching the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the 30 minute, the whatever, all at the same time. And if a signal appears, you don't have to pull up the chart. You'll see it on the table, and then you'll know what to do. So that's coming. Stian's working on that. He has part of that done. Okay. So right now, doing it like this, yeah, it's a little cumbersome. That's why I say you have to have some experience. But I demonstrated to you. I showed you. I can't make this up. I had no idea Bitcoin was going to do this. I was expecting, just a bunch of noise. Yeah, we put all those features in there, like changing the risk reward, and we have a few other things you can adjust. For people that like to adjust things. But if you're like newer, there's no need to adjust anything, right? 1.5 to 1 is fine, because at least you're taking profit off the table, and that's a main thing, right? Look, this thing may tap out, But man, I mean, I'm happy with this move. I'm up like $500 and something on paper. It's not real, but it just gives you an idea of what's possible. This is a futures contract. So it's one coin, right? It's one Bitcoin. I'm going to blow it out once it touches that trailing stop. But as long as it doesn't touch the trailing stop, I'm going to let it ride, as Jerry Seinfeld would say. It wants to keep paying me. Let it pay. Okay, so, all right. But so do you guys see how that works? Beautiful, right? We'll just wait for this thing to touch that trailing stop. But imagine if you had to look at this thing on your own with none of this reference, nowhere to enter, watching this thing run away without you, not knowing where to put the stop. This trade right now is a risk-free trade because this is my stop right here. Okay? So it's all answered for. All I have to do now is let the random nature of the market take over. I do nothing. I don't have to think. It's all done for me. Right? And the market wants to be nuts. Go ahead, be nuts. Are we making new all-time highs? I think we are. 88,103. These are new all-time highs as we speak. Okay? And we're going to pull back at some point and tap me out. And I'm going to bang this thing out. I'm just going to follow the instructions. And you may say, well, isn't this greed? Well, no, it's not greed because I'm letting the market decide. I'm no longer in the equation here, right? Okay, tap me out, I'm out. Out. Okay, nice. Now another signal may develop, but that was a huge trade. Okay, so as you can see here, this was the trade, right? Now this thing calculates the profit from the profit objective, not the trailing stop. So this shows a profit of 513 points, right? Is that right? Oh man, look at that. That thing shook me out. Whatever. Yeah. Oh, let me see there. Oh, I guess because it must have closed it on this big move here, right? 513 points from the entry. Where is that? Oh, it calculated it up here around here, somewhere around here, right? That's where it calculated it. But it went further, right? Because obviously I made more than that. So any questions about that? Do you see how that works? So that thing kept me in for a good portion of this move that otherwise I may have gotten out much earlier. I may have gotten out over here. Oh, double top, whatever, right? Oh, I mean, this move, they got me out on this move, but hey, whatever. You're never going to capture the whole move, okay? So if you're wondering, well, how do I sign up for this thing? Let me show you real quick. So if you go to this website, right, which I'm going to put the link in the description. The link is in the description, but I'm going to type it in the chat here. Okay, it's HTTP. Hold on, bit.ly. Okay, I'm going to put it here. If you go to that link, and I'll share it on the screen here. Go to this link. All right. Okay. That'll take you to this page. And on this page, you scroll through, it explains how it works, tells you a little bit about me. And then you have this, right? Sign up for 14 days for free. And you click on this. Now, please follow these instructions, please. I get people, they're like, they don't put their username in. I can't sit there and do that type of customer service. Like, I'm sorry, right now, I can't. So it's very simple. You click on that. You go to this form right here. Make sure you put your correct TradingView username. If you don't, or if you leave that blank, you will not get the invite. So please put that in correctly. And then you wait about 30 minutes to an hour and you will receive it. Now, if you're interested in paying for 1 year up front after your free trial, it's $270, right? So you're saving 25%. On the monthly price. The monthly price is $30 a month. That price is going up. Once Stian publishes the overlays, it's coming. He's working on it. I've been talking about that for weeks, but it takes time. Once he has that, we're raising these prices. And also I'm going to mention with the bot, when we have the bot, the updated bot, man, that thing, this thing's going nuts. When we have the updated bot, I'm not even going to do a free trial. I'm going to do I'm going to give you a month, but it's going to be like a money back guarantee. I'm going to do something like that because the bot is going to be made more for investing anyway. It's not going to be for this, right? So for the people that don't want to do that upfront thing, or people they don't have money to invest, then this is going to be the tool for you here. Okay, just letting you know. I'm just giving you a sneak peek. So that's how you get to the Trade Scanner Pro. And again, you fill out that form. In 30 minutes to 1 hour, you'll receive your invite notification on TradingView. You can put the thing on your chart and you're all good to go. So like I said, please don't make the mistake of just taking random signals. This signal that I took was something that I explained to you. I was looking for longs. Now, this is a 5-second chart though, right? I mean, let's go to a 30-second chart. Is there anything on there? Nothing. When you're working with a 1-minute chart, like if you're using the free version of TradingView, this is what you're looking at. That whole move just now, there was nothing on the 1 minute. Realize that. I just made $500 and something because I was on the 5-second chart. And I knew to be on the 5-second chart because I was looking for a signal. I knew to be looking for longs because of what we determined earlier. And we had some minor supports nearby. Okay, and I was willing to give it a try. A lot of times, those 5-second charts will get stopped out. It was only 60 points, but also understand that this is an unusual situation we're looking at right now. Okay, so what I suggest as a beginner is just wait for your next long signal. Just wait. Set up the notifications so that you don't have to sit in front of your chart. That's what the notifications are for. When the signal appears, you'll be good to go. Whether it takes an hour or 2 or 3, it won't matter. You're not going to sit in front of your chart and stare at it. So anyway, any questions? Any questions? Okay, I don't see anything here. If I missed your question, I apologize. So again, if you sign up for the Trade Scanner Pro trial, please do me a favor. Give it at least a week. Right? If you cancel in 2 hours, man, just let's not waste each other's time here. It's a tool that, again, if you're an absolute beginner, you're going to have a hard time with what I just showed you. If you have some experience, like maybe 6 months, a year, you understand what support and resistance is, you understand what a trend is, then you may be more, have more the prerequisites to get value from a tool like this. Now, like I said before, I am going to be training videos that will be available to free trial people. I'm going to make like the free version, and I'm going to make the premium version so that people will have videos to go by and they can learn, and they have examples to go by to use this tool. But right now, you could go onto my YouTube channel. I have a video that I published back in July, which is 5 steps to better signals. You can watch that, and it gives you a step-by-step process for arriving at a trade idea and then looking for a signal. So I would start there if you're new. Okay, I know no one's going to listen to me on that, but that's a good place to start. Okay, any questions? So that was a nice example, everyone. I've been talking for a while, and we had that amazing move. So if I don't have any questions, I'm gonna wrap this up. If a question comes to you at some other point, you can always send me an email, right? mark@markpremarkets.com. You can also, if you need tech support or you need some kind of help, we have a support channel in the Discord community. Usually Stian keeps an eye on that or whatever, so you can put messages there, and he's usually pretty much aware of what's going on. So consider that. You can also send me messages on TradingView. I've been slow to respond in recent times, but I'll be getting back on that. Like I said, I've had tons of internet problems, so I'm trying to solve all that. And hopefully next week I'll be back to more normal, and I'll have my camera on, and you'll see my new room. Okay. How do you like the 5-second chart now? All right. It gave it back. See that? Good thing I got out. But yeah, like this is not even. Let's go back to that. This is the 1 minute. Let's go to the 5-second. See, the 5-second gave it all back. That's what I mean. So we had that random run. Oh, look, a signal just appeared too, and it looks like it got stopped out, or it's still in play. Usually, why is this? I don't know why this thing closed. It closed as a profit, 152 points. Oh, okay. Oh, because I guess because these trades on a 5-second are so narrow, right? Because it only calculates the profit objective on those. right? And the profit objective is very narrow on a 5-second chart because it's much smaller range of movement. Anyway, yeah. So eventually, right, you're going to see the heads up on the 1 minute because we're getting a pullback. So this is where you'd be paying attention to the 1 minute for the 1 minute signal. Make sense? So again, people, I want you to get value from this tool. Just to recap, it's not a forecasting tool. It is a management and confirmation tool. You come to the market with an idea. It confirms your idea. It gives you a stop loss. It gives you a profit objective. It tells you where to enter. So all of that stuff is answered for you. And then it helps you manage the trade, just like I showed you. I rode that move for whatever, 400 points or whatever that was, because the trailing stop kept me in. Okay, and you can control all of that from the panel here, the settings panel, right? Make sure your trailing stop is on and all those other things, and you're all good to go. If you have any questions or suggestions, like I said, we have the support channel, and you can find help there, okay? And all that. Also, I just want to mention real quick, if someone reaches out to you, like if I reach out to you on Twitter or on Discord or on TradingView or something, or Stian or Alex, and we reach out to you and we ask you for money, most likely it's a fake. It's an impersonator. Please, we don't do that. We don't ask, I don't reach out to people and ask them for money or send you to some website asking you for money. It's the Market Signal Pro website only, right? So if you get something else, it's a fake. Please report the person. Please let the community know that there's an impersonator out there trying to scam people, because I don't like when my people get scammed. There's a lot of, people out there that like to take advantage of my good reputation. So if you think I'm reaching out to you, be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll give you $1,000. I love you. And then you're giving $1,000 to the scammer. Okay. So please just be aware of that. I have to mention that in every stream because, it happens. All right, you guys. So, hey, thanks for watching. I hope you got some value from this stream. Press the like button, press the subscribe button. And I really appreciate everyone's patience. Hopefully next week I'll have all this internet stuff taken care of and we'll go from there. Also, I am planning to write my article still. All right. All right, guys. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for watching.